I haven't seen too many more effective linemen for their teams this year. There's a lot of good linemen out there, but certainly his body of work speaks very loudly about what kind of player that he is. I know certainly he could play on our team for a long time if they changed the rules. He has. We've become pretty accustomed to looking out there and seeing Brennan. It's been a good feeling. You know, and all the things, Jeff, that go into the makeup of a team, there really are a select number of guys within a roster that can really provide the standards of leadership that make things different. And he certainly has been one of those players. Those are things about players that really only those people who see him on a very inside and intimate basis can fully appreciate what they bring. And he really has been at the top of the list in terms of setting standards and demonstrating them and aiming to bring others along with him to those standards, of whether it's standards of preparation, toughness, energy, all the things that are so important. I expect they're going to be pretty darn good. I mean, they're good. They got a good defense that pressures the quarterback, that's good on third down, that doesn't give up very many rushing yards. Right? That usually makes for a pretty good defense. They got a good running game with a real good back. They got a good quarterback. They got a real good receiver. Right? And they got a real good punter. So I think if you passed around a blank piece of paper to most coaches on August the 1st and asked them to create a little bit of a shopping list of things they'd like to be good at, that would pretty much check all the boxes off. And so that's why I say they're good, and they're blanket good. You know, they're good in all phases. Well, Al's done a real good job with that group. You know, a lot of those kids kind of entering into the second half of their career have matured well and are playing the best ball they have for us. Some of those young kids have really come on nicely for first-year players. That's a big assignment back there. And, you know, there's been some good and there's been some a little rough spots there. But they've all stayed very positive and throughout the whole process. And he's very thorough. He's very demanding with them. He's constantly teaching. But while he's demanding of them, they know that he's on their side too. And so the combination of that is usually what elicits performance. Well, I'd say feel good about more than boost, Hank. I think we all recognize, it was very apparent yesterday that throughout the team, everybody recognizes that everybody feels better about it than if it hadn't happened. But everybody fully recognizes that it'll be quite a challenge to be able to do half as much this week. So we're really going to have to prove on a play-to-play basis, you know, whether we can run the ball very well against these guys or not. I think one of the important things, at least one of the principles that's worth adhering to, is if you have something that's working, make sure the other team has stopped it before you deviate from it. You know, you don't want somebody over there saying, man, glad they didn't run that anymore because we really didn't have an answer for it. You know, just, but so that's part of it. The other part of it is that in any particular game, as well as during the course of the season, try to avoid falling into patterns of how you call things. And quite often, that's part of the basis for a call. You know, those people who, quite frankly, don't do any homework in anticipation of the game, but always know what you should call. Sometimes not the only component of, but part of the basis of why certain calls are made is to break a pattern that you were in, because once you establish too visible a pattern, then you become a target, whether it's the coverages that you're playing or the routes that you're throwing or when you run or when you pass. All we're trying, this is our mindset on this game as well as any succeeding games. It started yesterday. When we walk in the building, all we're trying to do is figure out how do we have a chance to beat these guys. And once we do that, then we're not really going to look too deeply at the ramifications of that either. Then we're going to just say, look, how can we figure out how to beat the next guys? And to do anything else allows individuals on a team and lets the entire team really to get distracted from what the bullseye of the target is, which it's hard enough to beat teams when you give them your full focus, much less you're distracted by outside things. Well, I think you just, when that kind of situation, you just fall back on tried and true philosophy, which is that because two of the three primary threats are right in there tight to the formation, that is the quarterback as a runner as well as a passer, and the two tailbacks that they have, you better make sure that you're not light on the run. That's for sure.